Hey everyone, hello again. Welcome to another talk, another live talk, another weird episode of weirdness, where I've been trying to take wild rides into the bizarre world of existence, of consciousness, and of course all things weird. And each week I've been poking around all the weirdest corners of reality, really trying to find some weird stuff, especially around lucid dreams and psychedelics and non-ordinary states of consciousness. And I was saying the last time that, I really wanted to kind of step out of the weird closet and be like, hey, fellow weirdos, here are some of the more trippy adventures and in these adventurous, crazy realms. So I wanted to share a lot of these topics too, because I wanted to see if anyone else has shared experiences, to kind of to move into a sense of connection, but also to wrap the head around the strange implications of these experiences, to provide like a space or a platform, to chat about all this kind of stuff, the mysteries beyond the daily grind, beyond the mundane. And so, great. So here we are again, and for some more open-minded exploration and some more weirdness, attempting to untangle the cosmic spaghetti and hopefully stretch our minds like putty and see what happens. So, hey, why not, right? Because like life is weird and life is also wonderful. So yeah, let's just do it. Let's just be weirdos. Okay, so I didn't do a live last week. Sorry if anybody was like looking for that, but I was unwell. So I had to take a break. So I wanted to loop back though with this conversation around the previous weird talk that I had, where I was talking about precognition and specifically about that Indian tsunami precognitive dream that I had back in December 2004. And if you're interested in precog phenomenon, go check out that video. It's deeper in my feed. And the reason why I wanted to circle back to that tsunami dream is because many of you got in touch and were like, hey, I've had tsunami dreams too. And I keep having recurring dreams of like big waves and floods and like, massive amounts of water. And so, these seem to be common experiences with people, like much like a lot of people, we've all had the dreams of our teeth falling out, for example. We've all had the dream where we've been naked in public, or like the chase dream. And these are all common dreaming experiences with human beings all around the world, despite culture, background, and cosmology. These are shared human experiences. So with these recurring universal themes. But where do these shared dream experiences come from, actually, and why does it happen, and why are the themes always the same? They're all so universal. So I wanted to just center around the common theme of water, especially water in dreams, because everyone has them. And water is amazing. It's the solvent of life. It covers approximately like 70.9% of our Earth's surface. We have a high percentage of water in our physical bodies as well. And water is powerful. It's momentous. Its energy can be harnessed to light up entire cities. And it holds spiritual qualities too. And there's a multitude of rituals around water since times of antiquity. Think baptism, think purification, and holy rivers, holy wells, and holy water, for fending off vampires. And, so water has unique ability to transform itself into a wide range of energies. From the destructive power, of like the tsunami, to the soothing power of a really peaceful lagoon. So, whether tempestuous or healing, water is often, a featured and constant element in our dreams. It's often the highest recurring theme. And most people can relate to dreams of water. I'm sure you can. In some form, either a waterfall or a swimming pool or a deep well, you name it, we all have had water in our dreams. And for the most part, water is referenced, in dream interpretation. We see water as symbols for emotions, spirituality, creativity, intuition, and also the realms of the deep unconscious. It holds those symbolic, interpretive qualities. And water has a universal theme, is innate to the dreaming experience of people all around the world, as we all know. Everyone's had it. People in India have had the water dream. People in Africa have had the water dreams. And although its interpreted symbology, it varies from place to place, it's safe to say the experience of having shared dream themes holds a unique ability to connect all of humanity in a shared experience. And I think that's pretty cool that we all have these shared experiences in dreams. And I feel like there's an interesting similarity between water and consciousness. And as fathomless as water itself, consciousness is the phenomena of individual awareness within the context of exceptional properties of experience known as qualia. And qualia, by definition, it encapsulates all of a person's thoughts, your memories, your emotions, the sensations. And consciousness ebbs a person into awareness of themselves and the world around them. And I see the two of them kind of integral in a way. And for the most part, it is assumed that, consciousness is what a person experiences when awake. Consciousness can also be experienced in all other types of states. Like consciousness can be experienced through dreams and memories, even in comas, trance states, psychedelic experiences, daydreaming. These are all experiences known as altered states of consciousness. They're altered states of consciousness because they don't align with the definition of an awake and pragmatic, sober state of perception. But they are, however, they're still valid forms of consciousness because they fall within the experience of perception. Even as a person sleeps, consciousness is still present. It's still there. It's still there. It's just unaware. You experience consciousness through the altered state of sleep. It's just an altered state. And that's why dreams are so trippy, because it's altered. You're altered through sleep. And I like to see dreams as little mini psychedelic experiences that you have every single night. And the same as psychedelic experiences, dreams are the same zone. It's the zone of the unconscious that your consciousness is within. And even though dreams are slightly psychedelic and surreal, the experience of the scenes unfolding in dreams are just as wonderful, just as valid and important as anything you experience in your waking life. They hold a transpersonal quality to them. In other words, just because dreams are not real, it doesn't mean a person doesn't feel like they experienced something. Your consciousness has experienced something. It is a valid experience. And in fact, it's transpersonal. A dream can change the course of a person's life. And that is valid, much like the psychedelic experience can change a person's life. Totally valid to that person's transpersonal journey. So in my last video, I was mentioning in my last video the hard problem of consciousness and what is the true nature of reality in regards to consciousness. And I mentioned that, since the days of Descartes and Cartesian dualism, we've, as humans, have always had the challenge of trying to work it out, trying to understand the true nature of consciousness. It's kept us up at night. I also mentioned in that video the consciousness model that was outlined in the late 19th century by the mystical psychiatrist Richard Maurice Bucke. And so way back when, 1901, he argued that perhaps there are 3 types of consciousness. And he outlined that these 3 types of consciousness were simple consciousness, and that is just simple consciousness, awareness of the body. And then also He had the self-consciousness, which is awareness of being aware. And then he also introduced the idea of cosmic consciousness, the awareness of life and order of the universe, of something that is more boundary dissolving. And I was saying in my last video that perhaps it's that cosmic consciousness that is connected to the phenomenon of precognition. But hold that thought about cosmic consciousness. So like exploring the hard problem of consciousness and evolving it from that 1901 model of Richard Maurice Buck. And so we're evolving it, we're moving it into the future. So we're in the 21st century. So in the 21st century, researchers around consciousness have evolved that concept a little bit further from that time. And some researchers now argue that consciousness is a fundamental property of matter, that like even an electron is conscious. An electron is conscious. So it got me thinking, electrons, they're found in all matter. They're fundamental particles that play a crucial role to the structure of atoms, which are the building blocks of matter. So if an electron is conscious, then that would mean that all matter is conscious. All matter. Everything holds an awareness or consciousness. And it got me thinking of this concept called panpsychism. Panpsychism, it's Greek. It's like the combination of two words, pan, which means all, and psyche, which means the soul or the mind. And so it's like panpsychism is like literally all soul or all mind. Panpsychism. So it's like this boundary dissolving unity of all things. And it's like the concept that all things have a mind, or all things have a mind-like quality to them. So incidentally, like if you're a history nerd and you like your history, the word panpsychism, it's from the 16th century. It was coined by an Italian philosopher, Francesco Petruzzi. I probably totally demolished that with my accent, but check his work out. So yeah, his philosophy around panpsychism. So panpsychism, it's been explored quite a bit in science moving forward since then. And one particular advocate of it is the president and chief scientist of the Allen Institute for Brain Science in Seattle. And his name is Christoph Koch. And so Christoph was a fan of panpsychism, and he wrote that like any complex system has the basic attributes of mind and has a minimal amount of consciousness in the sense that it feels like something to be that system. So that was really interesting. It really got me thinking, like, so this complex system can also be observed in nature, probably even in water, like all rivers run to the sea. So getting back to the similarities between like water and consciousness, I also wanted to touch on the concept of the collective unconscious. So, especially because of dreams, it being a sort of system of consciousness. So, in exploring the concept of a system of consciousness, someone who was truly a pioneer in all that in the early 20th century was, of course, Swiss psychoanalyst Carl Jung, and specifically with his psychological theory of the collective unconscious. And all you dream workers know all about that. So Jung argued that a species shares a collective part of a conscious hive mind, which is derived from ancestral memory and experiences, that's experienced by all of humankind, and it's distinct and it's different from an individual's unconscious. This is the collective unconscious, and it's thought to be responsible for deep-seated beliefs, memories, instincts, trauma, behaviors. And according to Jung, dreams provide like a totally good key insight of the collective unconscious, and also all of the archetypal content of dream symbols, that are effectively universal. So getting back to water and the collective unconscious. So drawing the parallels between held memories within the collective unconscious and water itself. Okay, there's this dude, this French immunologist. His name was Jacques Van Veniste. And back in 1988, he claimed that water had the ability to retain memories of substances that were previously dissolved in the water. And of course, his work was highly controversial, and the scientific community was just like, what the hell? That's like pseudoscience, and they completely rejected it. But the idea, right? So water memory, much like precognition, gets thrown out of the scientific model because nothing can back it up. But Jacques' water memory studies defied, scientific, physical chemistry, but it highlights super interesting claims, right? With completely boundary dissolving possibilities. And that is that, water holds memory, then water is a collective database. So, so you remember electrons. So if electrons are conscious, then electrons are found in all matter. Electrons are found in water. So if an electron is conscious, so then also is water conscious? Panpsychism, all one mind. Perhaps water as a collective database. And so it really made me think of this fascinating group of indigenous people who live in Sierra Nevada de Santa Marta mountains, which are in the northern part of Colombia, and they're called the Koji, and they live in isolation from the modern world. And their culture has not changed since the pre-Columbian era. And they refer to nature, to the planet Earth, as the mother. And their connection to the mother is profound, like none other. In Koji culture, their cosmology, they have this concept called Aluna. And Aluna is their word for cosmic consciousness, from which all life and intelligence is from, which encompasses the mind within nature. And Aluna is also, in their cosmology, a sentient entity that's self-aware and that holds knowledge, and that it's alive, it's conscious. And nature is alive, nature is conscious. And if you think about it, actually historically all indigenous communities share this belief, and it's universally acknowledged. So anyways, the Koji, they cultivate this deep connection to Aluna, the cosmic consciousness, the mother. In fact, chosen children in the group who show shamanic ability, they're trained from when they are babies. They're taken by the women, and they undergo a long period of seclusion and darkness, either in caves or in huts during their early years. And they cultivate this connection to the cosmic consciousness, to the mother. And this training is led by their moms and the women in the tribe. And they learn to connect to the mother, to talk to her, to understand her, to learn the messages to maintain harmony in the world. And when they're 9 years old, they come out of the darkness and they interact with the natural world for the first time ever. And that's when they become shamans, or as they call them mamas. They become mamas. And bringing this in because with the Koji, their relationship to water is really mind-blowing. Water holds immense importance and significance in Koji cosmology. They believe it is essential for maintaining the balance and harmony of the entire world, the natural world. They speak to the water. They speak to the rivers. They speak to the seas. The water holds the knowledge, and they receive this information from the knowledge. And the water tells them what to do. And in exchange, they've devoted themselves to be the guardians of the water. and they're so amazing. Like, you have to check out this this documentary made about them. There's been a few made, but this one particular made in 2012, it's called Aluna, and it's on YouTube. Check it out. You can see it for free. And it shows their relationship to water as well in the documentary, and them speaking to the water and receiving messages from the water. And it's so moving. It's like, it had me crying, like I was weeping from this documentary, because it also shows how we're messing everything up. The industrial world is destroying the planet, the waters, and the Koji have a lot to say about that. And we have a lot to learn from them, including their prophecies and the messages from the mother that they're giving to us. So check them out, seriously check them out. But yeah, the concept of water as a database, as a consciousness in its own right, a consciousness in its own right that holds the memories and the knowledge of all things. So getting back to my last video about precognition and water, like the tsunami precog that I had back in 2004. So like with that, like it turned out that like I wasn't alone in my precognitive dream of the Indian tsunami. There were many other dreamers worldwide that experienced the same precognitive dream, you know, before the tragic event of the tsunami actually occurred in 2004, December 2004. So like on top of all of that, there's also been cases of loads of people with precognitive dreaming of the 2011 Japanese tsunami as well. And those dreams are notably documented on the website, you know, author Robert Moss. He's great, Robert Moss. So on his dream sharing forum, there's people who put those dreams up there before 2011 tsunami event happened in Japan. So like Robert Moss's work is great. Check him out. Like he's written so many books on dreaming. He's an Australian historian and creator of what is known as active dreaming. And so when that 2011 Japanese tsunami happened, and all those dreamers that had that precog dream that's like was documented and written on his forum, like of course they were all like totally freaking out, like because it came true, it happened. And Robert Moss like responded on his website's Blogspot, and he responded by saying something like, you know, that he believes that we dream a collective future, that we're all connected with the rest of humanity, with the earth and with the oceans, with the environment, and that in our dreams, like we're way more in touch with the deeper movements than we are in everyday awareness, like than in our waking times. And when we dream of world events, you know, before they happen, we are able to do that. We can dream into the situations of other people in faraway lands. And so it's not just precognitive dreams, you know, that we seem to share, you know, as a species. We also share, you know, of course, these recurring themes and dreams of big waves and floods and destructive deluges. And, you know, we all have had those huge water dreams, right? And so this made me think more deeply, especially around the flood myth. And so one of those elemental archetype or themes of the collective unconscious that has been, you know, steady and constant since ancient times is the flood myth. And it seemingly appears as part of our archetypal makeup as a species, like this flood myth. And so most flood myths go something like this, you know, like there's a huge flood and it's unleashed upon the earth like a tsunami, and it's either unleashed by a god or a group of gods, which, you know, destroys civilization in an act of divine retribution. And also sometimes there is, you know, a hero, you know, there, yay, to represent, you know, the human craving for life, you know, and, you know, other flood myths appear in like creation stories where the waters are unleashed to cleanse humanity and prepare for some kind of rebirth. And so like these stories and lore and legend of a great flood, you know, that's engulfed the earth is shared by so many cultures since the dawn of civilization. Like with many of these cultures completely unaware of each other's existence. There would be no way they'd know each other existed. And so, these great destructive waters, the flood myth, they can be found everywhere, We can find it in, the story of Genesis, the narrative and the chapters in the book of Genesis in the Hebrew Bible, or the Christian Old Testament describes, this flood. We also see it in Mesopotamian flood stories too. We've got it also in like Greek mythology with Deucalion and Pyrrha. We find the flood myth in Hinduism as well with the Manvantara Sandhya. It's also in that myth. The flood myth appears in the Quran, and also like in Chinese mythology. We also have Irish mythology where the flood appears as well. Norse mythology, like countless places, flood legends all over the place. Polynesia, Hawaii's got the flood myth as well. And also, not to mention Mesoamerica, South America, the Native Americans of North America, South America, Africa, you name it. It's everywhere. The flood myth is everywhere. It's integral to so many different cultures. And so the flood myth all around the world with people who didn't even know each other existed at the time, all with the same stories of this huge wave or this huge destructive waters that wiped everything out. And throughout the long history of the shared apocalyptic water myth, the Great Flood, the tsunami, it's also found its way in, art, film, pop culture. We can see evidence of it, of the deluge, and in all of those, wonderful creative forms, from the 19th century wood block print, of the big wave off of Kanagawa, like that beautiful print, that beautiful Japanese print. And, all the way up to Hollywood, with Waterworld, with Kevin Costner. So we've got this obsession with the catastrophic power of the wave, of the water, of the flood, even inspiring us creatively. So it's in there, it's locked in. It's locked into the unconscious somehow. And since this is in there as part of our, evidently, our archetypal makeup of the collective unconscious, and our human experience, it really begs the question, like, how did water, with all the power and destruction, surge its way into our collective unconscious in the first place? Like, why is it there? How did it get there? So it got me thinking, and thinking of an event so destructive that it would leave an impression on humanity and on planet Earth. So this particular event, it occurred 12,900 years ago, quite apocalyptic. And it was an event that caused mass extinction of unprecedented proportions. The event plummeted the Earth into like glacial conditions known as the Younger Dryas period. And so there's this theory, well, actually it's a hypothesis, the hypothesis of the Younger Dryas impact hypothesis. And it postulates that there was a comet, and the fragments of this comet either struck or exploded over North America, and so it's known as the Younger Dryas comet. And its impact was in the order of like 10 million megatons, which is huge. It's massive. Like, that's like 2 million times greater than the most powerful detonated nuclear bomb. So that's pretty apocalyptic, and that's like 1,000 times more destructive than like all combined like A-bombs amassed on this planet right now. So like, whoa, like that's totally apocalyptic. So let that sink in, how big that is. 1,000 times more destructive than the combination of all nuclear bombs on planet Earth. So, that's going to leave an impression, right? A really long lasting impression. And with that amount of like instant and violent impact, it surely, of course, would have its apocalyptic effect, instant effect on planet Earth. So like, I'm sure you all know of Graham Hancock, right? So Graham Hancock, he's like a British author. He's a journalist. He's written lots of books. And he speaks about this in his book called Magician of the Gods. And you should check out that book too. It's pretty cool. And he argues that, the violent impact of the comet instantly melted all of the ice caps and instantly unleashing like impossible amounts of ice melt into the existing oceans. And like what happens when there's an instant massive surplus of water in an already massive existing body of water, like that triggers an insanely massive tsunami. And that's unbelievably huge, right? And this would be unbelievably huge. It would sweep across all of the continents. And although like, stories of this, like, the fiery blast that shook the world and then followed by a great flood, they're recounted by countless indigenous peoples of North America. It's very well documented. It wasn't actually until the 1920s when geologists began to really investigate, this concept of, was there a prehistoric flood? Maybe we should look into that. And so there's this geologist, he's called J. Harlan Bretz, and he started doing studies. He made discoveries around hundreds of erratics. So erratics are like these colossal boulders, or like massive giant rocks, and they get moved by geographic forces, like from one location to another location. So like, have you ever seen one of those big colossal rocks and you think, how the hell did that get there? It's so out of place. It's just in the middle of nowhere. And then you find out that the mineral of the rock like is not even found in the area. Well, that's an erratic. So he studied erratics, and he studied these in order to, to understand why the hell they were dispersed all over Washington state in an area called the Scablands. And also there, he also made a discovery that a vast 600 square mile depression, and this vast depression, it's like filled with basalt silt, like 400 feet deep, which is crazy. That aligns with what happens when water is present, especially powerful water. And in this case, because of its like massive proportions, like he believes that it was formed as a result of like an exceptionally powerful surge of water that moved across that land. And also believe that, those erratics, those boulders, those huge, massive, colossal rocks were also probably placed there, moved across the landscape by a powerful surge of water as well. So that's quite interesting scientific, observation around a prehistoric myth. So if you think about it, if you were a human back then, right, and you somehow miraculously witnessed that event of that comet and then the impact and like 1,000 times more powerful than all of the nuclear A-bombs and then like this constant instant shift of temperature, heat, and then like not long after that, this sound of a roaring ocean turned into a mega wave crashing over the land. Like imagine you're like one of those dudes up there, watching this wipe out everything because you happen to be at like far enough away from it and high enough on a mountain or a perch somehow distant from it to be able to see that shit go down and then like survive it, right? You'd be like, you would definitely have a story to tell. You would definitely have a myth, a legend, a lore, and pass it down. And of course, flood myths would be found in numerous cultures, right? Because if all these human beings all around the world witnessed that, everyone would carry on that story. So back to the collective unconscious, water and dreams. So if like a destructive tsunami potentially, caused by that Younger Dryas comet, found its way into cultural myth and legend, like, then how did it surge into the depths of our collective unconscious? How did that wave surge into the depths of our dreams? How is it still there as a universal dream theme? So it got me thinking of morphic resonance and also epigenetic trauma. And so it's a bit similar to Benveniste's water memory hypothesis. There's also this other one called morphic resonance. And so you've probably heard of Rupert Sheldrake. Yes. He's an author and a parapsychologist. Morphic resonance is his hypothesis. And you should really check out his work. It's very good. And also the work of his sons too, really great. So Rupert's morphic resonance hypothesis, it outlines that natural systems inherit a collective memory from all previous things of their kind. So we inherit the memory. So that made me think, with this concept, in mind, that catastrophic global event of a great giant tsunami, it would still be held within the collective memory, of all living things today, because that was huge. And so, like, in other words, we would carry the apocalyptic tsunami event of 12,900 years ago within us. And so now the question is, where is that collective memory held? And like, how do we access that collective memory? So I was like, I need to go deeper. Yes, of course. I love this shit. I love the weird stuff. Okay, so go deeper. So I went deeper. I discovered, findings in biological science. I talked about this in one of my videos about karma. We know that, trauma can be stored chemically in humans' genes, which can be passed down to generation. The chemical marks of trauma, the result of external trauma or environmental factors. This is epigenetics. So we actually carry that within our code. So if these epigenetic changes acquired, during life can be passed down to the later generations, think about it. The implications are like enormous. So the ancient humans who survived the Younger Dryas comet and the Great Flood, they would have had trauma seared into their DNA, and then therefore passing it down through thousands and thousands of generations. And perhaps this is how the tsunami, the great floods, and the destructive waters have found their way collectively into all of our dreams. And we all share these water dreams universally as something that's a shared dreaming experience. So getting back to the interesting similarity between water and consciousness, specifically water and the collective unconscious, and we know that they're great symbols as well there. The formlessness of water, it's much like the unconscious mind. It's a deep reservoir of emotions, memories, instincts, its thoughts, emotions, it swirls, below the surface of the unconscious awareness. And while this pool of information, is not easily accessible, it still, it wields influence on our ongoing behavior. It wields influence, the unconscious. So if we were to draw up the contents from the well of the unconscious into awareness, by the way, this is like an important aspect of integration in the Jungian or transpersonal psychology model. We do that in order to transcend emotional distress. We transcend trauma from drawing it out of the unconscious. So like dreams, they play a big part of this process, because dreams are a direct route into the zones of the unconscious. They help draw it out. We get to look at them and interface them every night in our sleep. So in Jungian psychology, this is known as the process of individuation. The process of individuation works with the material from the unconscious. the unconscious water, and evolves a person into a form of self-realization, a cohesive whole. Not only to do conscious-minded human beings engage in this process individually, but hey, humanity, collectively, whoa, we move through individuation as a whole. So this is not just an individualistic pursuit. This is a collective pursuit. So part of this collective individuation process is looking at collective trauma. We all have it collectively, and learning how to integrate it. So largely this is all about connecting the dots throughout history. Epigenetics, epigenetic trauma, recurring trauma themes, and contemplating the thousands of years of atrocious human behavior that is no longer beneficial to humanity as a whole, to the collective. So, like, perhaps we have our destructive water dreams, because the trauma of the ancient ancestors is held within our epigenetics. Or perhaps the memory of that catastrophic flood is held in the morphic resonance within nature, the environment, within the morphic field. Or perhaps the memory of the tsunami trauma from way long ago is held in the ocean itself, the ocean being conscious of it on its own right, and the phenomenon of panpsychism, are connected to the ocean, all connected, therefore connected to the memory of its destructive events, the ocean itself. So, I really like Neil deGrasse Tyson. He's an American astrophysicist, and you should check him out. You should totally check out what he says about how the tides of the oceans work on planet Earth. It will totally change your perspective, because a lot of us get it wrong in the way we work out the tides. But he said something, really poignant once. He said, particularly about water. And he said, where there's water on Earth, you will find life as we know it. So, if you find water somewhere else, like on another planet, effectively, it becomes a remarkable draw to really dive deep and look closer to see if there's any life of any kind there on that planet, even if it's like bacterial. So, just like he said, where there is water, there is life. Then we can know that where there is life, there is consciousness. Because we know this, we're alive, we're conscious. Where there's life, there's consciousness. And the thing is, we are water. Our bodies comprise of a high percentage of water. The collective memory of time immemorial, it's like literally in our blood. It's flowing through our veins. It's pumping through our hearts. It's keeping us afloat, And, the water is within us. It is life. Could it also be consciousness? Water as the database of consciousness? Could this be how we hold the deep unconscious memory of the trauma of the great flood that, swept the continents? Water is us. It's destructive, it's nourishing. We are destructive, we are nourishing. We're capable of great harm, but we're equally as capable of great regeneration. And there's still so much to learn, right? There's so much to heal, everyone. And there's so much to transcend, and so much that we need to evolve out of. You just look at the state of the world right now at the moment. It's absolutely devastating. But hey, I'm positive. I'm a positive thinker. I'm hopeful. I hope you're hopeful too. And it makes me feel hope, and it makes me think of the words of author and poet. What's his name? Kahlil Gibran, an amazing writer. He once wrote, In one drop of water are found all the secrets of all the oceans. And in one aspect of you are found all the aspects of existence. And those words give me hope. Panpsychism, all mind, all one soul, everything is connected. Everything is connected. And physics would support that, because the concept of unity, the unity of one, this connection to everything, it is supported in a scientific model. We just look at the subatomic level of reality. There's no difference between my hand here right now and the air around me. Like on a subatomic level, if we were to zoom all the way down, it's all connected. And the same goes for me and for all of you right now. If we zoom down to this subatomic level, even though we're all at great distance apart right now, we are all connected. We are all part of the same cosmic soup. Like seriously. And in fact, we're all from the same place. We're all from the same place, despite all of our differences, despite our different ethnicities or cultures, despite the countries that divide us, we're all from the same place. We're all from the same cosmic event that happened 13.8 billion years ago. We're all from that same cosmic event when a singular point of heat and light came out of the void of nothing. And that singular event exploded. And from that event, matter was formed. The stars, the galaxies, our solar system, our precious planet Earth, our oceans, our forests, our jungles, our bodies, you sitting here right now listening to this, your memories, your thoughts, your feelings, everyone you know, everyone you love, everyone you don't love, everyone you've been nasty to, everything is connected from that singular event. So we are all one, without sounding too much like a hippie, but it's true. We are all one. And so thank you for listening. Hopefully we can evolve evolve out of all of the trauma and collectively get there, including all the stuff that's going on in the world right now. And hopefully we can get there. So thanks for watching, y'all. I just went on a total rant, and I see that a lot of you have been chatting. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's have a look. Nice to see a lot of you here. Thanks for joining in, everyone. Yeah, it's good to have open minds. We always need to keep the box open and develop new theories and new ways of seeing things, and to help further. Yes. And the thing is, with like the nature of reality, everything's like in flux, we get to this point in science where we go, yeah, I figured it out, I worked it out, here we go. This is the current model. But I think it's important to look at, well, even that changes, that gets added to. There's always something more to explore and expand. The only constant we know is change, and we do know that everything is evolving. I like to look at the universe as my model of understanding all of these things, because effectively the universe came out of nothing, the void of nothing. Science does back that up, and that's pretty phenomenal that science would back up this kind of cosmic sort of magical event that just something appeared out of nothing, kind of like, what? Who made it happen? We don't know. And, it's the first act of magic as well. And so if science backs up that cosmic event of the Big Bang, anything really is possible. Anything's possible. The fact that we're even here now is improbable. And also I like to see, that the universe is constantly expanding. It's expanding it as we're speaking right now. Change. So that I like to see that as a model of an everyday life, to take that model and say, well, anything's possible, everything is changing, everything's in flux, everything is expanding, everything is evolving. And so hopefully we as human beings can evolve too, in terms of our consciousness, in terms of the way we treat each other, the way we are with each other, you know. Hopefully we can evolve into better humans. And just quickly look at some of your other chat. Hey. It's so cool that y'all getting into the chat here. Sorry, I'm so squinty. And some questions about sound. I should make a video about sound too, because I find sound to be insanely interesting, healing, powerful. I mean, it can be used to heal. It can be used as a weapon. Yes, so perhaps some good inspiration for another weird talk, perhaps next week, looking at sound. And thank you everyone for joining in on this weird talk. I hope you have a great week, and we'll see you. We'll see you real soon, and hopefully maybe even see you in the dreams. I'll come surfing in on a surfboard in the dreams to say hi. All right, everyone. Stay weird.